What would it feel like to be truly, deeply happy, regardless of your circumstances? Did you know that happiness is a choice and not a result? That you can create your life on purpose? Join us now to learn more. This is the Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. And here's your host, mindset coach, and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott.
Hello and welcome to to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset Mastery, and we have the most beautiful day that I've seen in a long time. I am so excited. I can't wait until we're done the show. I'm going to go for a walk and get out and get some of this nice sunshine. I'm so enjoying it. So, welcome to our show. Today we are talking about allowance. It is what it is. And what we're going to be focusing on is how to bring more peace into your life by learning to make your peace with things that are happening around you. Isn't that interesting? So I'm going to share a whole bunch of my learning on this subject as we go through the show. And in segment 3, I was just telling my producer, Kim, she's wonderful. I was just telling her before we got started here, there seems to be a theme because now I'm sort of reserving the third segment of the show for some practical tips and steps on how to do things. So if you're ever on one of the shows, make sure you stick around to the third segment because that's where you're going to get that meat that you can take with you and actually start to make some changes in your world. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So on Time to Rise and Thrive, we talk about our subliminal soundtrack. We talk about how to get it working for us rather than against us. We talk about seeing our unique value and beauty and the kind of contribution that we actually are making to the world. Now, did you know that? It's a thing. It's a thing. I'm telling you, for years, I had absolutely no idea that my presence actually makes a contribution to the world. Isn't that wonderful? Yay. All right. So, on today's show, what does it mean to be in a state of allowance? It's tricky. Once you get this thing down, it's not hard to do, but it's that shifting of the thought processes that takes a bit of work. It means that you acknowledge and accept the things that you cannot change and allow them to be whatever they are. It isn't always easy, especially when our feelings, beliefs, and judgments become involved, but it's possible with a little bit of practice. Living in a state of allowance will actually allow you to have more peace with whatever's happening in your world and not get wrapped up in the unpleasant emotions. Did you even know that was possible? Because I'm telling you, that was one of my biggest hangups. That piece right there. I know it sounds a little bit crazy, but I also know it's possible because I have done it. So, because we talk so much about the subliminal soundtrack, just in case you haven't seen or heard one of our shows before, I'm going to give you a really brief explanation so you understand what it is that I'm referring to. So, the subliminal soundtrack is this loop of messages that plays on the back of our mind all day, every day. It is made up of all kinds of bits of information that we've gathered throughout our lives. Every conversation we've ever had, every lesson we've ever learned, every relationship we have ever been part of, every single experience we have ever had in our entire lives has given us bits and pieces of information that have then been stored on this subliminal soundtrack. We use that information to create our belief systems about ourselves, about the world in general, money, relationships, career, everything. Everything is influenced by the messages that are playing on our subliminal soundtrack all day. So, the interesting thing is that what we believe to be true will be true for us, even if it is based on completely incorrect information. So, it's very important for us to get clear on what's happening back there and shift those things sometimes from, like lack mentality, limited belief systems, all of that kind of stuff. Shift it from that space into a space of empowerment and a space where you are choosing, where you are actually actively creating the life that you do desire. So when I talk about subliminal soundtrack, that's what I'm talking about, that loop of messages that goes on all the time. So, in regard to this subject that we're talking about today, the allowance thing, man, I don't know about you, but I used to call myself a worry wart, and our words are so very, very important. So very important. So, if you believe that you're a worry wart or that your emotion and angst can somehow help or change a situation, then you're going to waste a lot of your time and energy on these unpleasant emotions, okay? The angst, right? That place of why is this happening? I need to do something about this. They shouldn't do that, blah 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 blah, okay? But if you believe that everything is happening as exactly as it should be in the timing that it should be, then we can actually shift ourselves into this space where we can acknowledge what's happening around us and not get caught up in the chaos and the crazy of it. So I'm going to share with you, actually, I'm going to share with you one other piece first on our website. So we are currently on Phoenix Coach, but we are like this close to be on subliminalmindsetmastery.com. So you can find us right now on phoenixcoach.ca. Subliminalmindsetmastery.com is coming, and the other link, the Phoenix Coach link, will work to put you over to the new website when it's ready to go. I've written an article. It's currently called 3 Easy Ways to Reset Your Subliminal Soundtrack, and it has been rewritten with addition of a whole bunch of new information for the new website. So it is now called 5 Steps to Create a Mindset Wired for Success. Doesn't that sound wonderful? Yeah, so you're going to want to watch for that. It will be uploaded as soon as the new site is ready to go. You'll be able to go click and grab your copy of that. So here's the thing. When we get hit with any kind of traumatic circumstances or events, this thing can happen to us where we can start to go into the space of why is this happening, and I'm going to tell you right now why is a completely useless question for these types of circumstances that we're talking about right now, especially if the situation that you're dealing with involves some sort of a loss, whether it's a person, whether it's a job, whether it's money, whether it's a thing. If it involves some sort of loss, it can really, really impact us, because then there's a grief state that goes along. There's a grieving period that must happen in order for us to release that thing or that person or that situation, whatever it is, right? So that's when this thing gets really, really difficult. So I remember the very first time that I ever heard anybody talking about this, that I could be in allowance and I could have peace with the circumstances in my life. And I railed against that, man. I absolutely railed against it. Like I said, I was a self-professed worry wart up to that point in my life. And I had no idea what they were talking about. Like, how do you think that I am never going to be hurt or sad or angry, or because that was whatever language they were using around this lesson, that was that was the way it was coming across to me. And the fact was that they weren't talking about that at all. And it took me a bit of time. It actually took me quite a lot of time to start to shift my thinking to be able to hear what they were saying. So it isn't that we will never hurt. It isn't that we will never be angry or feel betrayed or feel grief or any number of other things. Okay. There's a resistance that happens within us when we come up against those sorts of feelings and those sorts of circumstances. There's a resistance, and we can find ourselves sliding into judgment, so that person is wrong, this situation is wrong, what happened is wrong, getting caught up in the whys and all of that sort of stuff. It's easy to do, and if you do, please don't beat yourself up over it. But I'm going to give you some information today to help you understand that you don't need to stay there. You do not need to unpack your bags and live in that space. I mean, you can if you choose, but there's not much fun to be had there. All right. So it's not this thing of, I will never hurt again, because the truth of the matter is that pain is inevitable. We all go through circumstances. People die, people get sick, relationships end, friendships end, things happen that hurt our feelings. Somebody that we trusted said something that caught us in the wrong way, whatever it is, right? And we've all done it from both sides. We've all experienced it, and we've all done it. You've said the wrong thing, or you've done something that was thoughtless, or whatever, right? It all happens to everybody. So this is one of those wonderful universal things. Nobody can escape pain in this life, in this world. Nobody can escape pain, but suffering is optional. So there's this different energy, um, when we talk about suffering, and I would like you to just sort of play around with that. When I talk about suffering, there's this ongoing sort of thing, this ongoing angst and sadness and hurt and all of, I mean, it can be made up of so many different things, but it's like this ball of all kinds of yucky stuff that is rolled up into this thing of suffering. Okay. That part is optional. You do not have to carry that with you. You can get into a space where you can understand and recognize what's happening and make your peace with it really quickly, really, really quickly. So that's what we're talking about today. So, what I learned, what I learned from these people was absolutely brilliant, because it helped me to shift this understanding in my own mind. And remember, we talked about that subliminal soundtrack. So, if my subliminal soundtrack said that it is absolutely wrong to betray someone's trust. It is absolutely wrong to say something unkind. It is absolutely wrong to fill in the blank. If I have that playing in the back of my mind all the time, then when something like that happens, I am immediately going to jump to that judgment place of this is wrong. This is wrong. I will not allow it. Okay. And you're allowed to feel those things. So remind yourself or remember that part. You are allowed to feel however you feel. The trick is to feel it and release it so that we can come to a place of understanding it is what it is. So when we lost my sister, it was interesting to me to watch the different reactions from the different people in our lives. And some of us got caught up in this, why did this happen? Some of us got caught up in the person, it was a car accident, the person who was driving the other vehicle was a bad person, all of that kind of stuff. Now, here's the thing. We cannot change that the car accident happened. We cannot change that she did not survive. We cannot change anything as much as we might love to. We cannot change it. Therefore, living in that space of why and this person's bad and that is wrong and all of that, it holds you. It holds you in a space where you cannot heal. You cannot move forward because you are stuck to all of these things that you won't release. And honey, this is the hard truth, is that it is up to you. It is up to you when you release those things. Okay. Nobody is doing this stuff to you. We need to take on that radical personal responsibility and understand that it is us doing these things that are causing us the pain and the ongoing suffering. We need to understand that, and we need to own it, because when we own it, then we can change it. Isn't that wonderful? All right. So it really is so much about the place that you put your focus. So do you focus on the whys and the wrongs and the rights, and do you focus on that, or do you focus on yourself? Do you focus on what do I need to do to get through this? Where you put your focus is where your energy will go. So that's the place where you have choice. That, I mean, I can't choose for that accident never to have happened. As much as I would love to, I'm not quite that magical, or at least I haven't figured it out quite yet. I mean, who knows, right? But I'm not in a space at this point in my life where I can make a difference in that. So if I continue to focus, if I continue to focus on my pain and my loss and my whys and my judgments about right and wrong and all of that sort of stuff, I'm wasting all kinds of energy that I could be putting toward my own healing. Okay, so that's the thing. That's the thing that we're going to focus on today. So it is time for our first break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this, how to bring more peace into our lives by learning to make peace with the circumstances that we are currently facing. So you are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive. I am Jackie Mott, your host, and we are on Inspired Choices Network. So stick with us. We will be back in just a moment.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at inspiredchoicesnetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about how to get to a place of peace with whatever is happening in our lives. Isn't that wonderful? This space of allowance. I am telling you, like, I really struggled against this because, I've got that left brain, right brain thing going on. And my left brain just railed against this idea. Like, honest to God, what does that mean? Allowance. How can I allow things to happen to me? So perceive that energy. How can I just allow you to treat me this way? How can I just allow that thing to happen? There's like this, it's uncomfortable, right? It's an uncomfortable physical sort of space to occupy that. How can I possibly? When you get to the place of being in allowance, and this is the entire point, it is about coming to a place of more ease, more ease. Okay. So when we go into a space of judgment, we actually disempower ourselves. So we were talking about that radical personal responsibility. There is this victim mentality, and I see it all over the place in this world that we live in right now. It drives me a little bit crazy. There is this victim mentality that everything happens to us. This pandemic is happening to us. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's not somebody somewhere sitting on a cloud going, "Ooh, I know how to make Jackie's life tough. I'm going to do this." Do you see what I'm saying? So it's that this space of judgment. So the space of judgment means that I am in a place where I'm deciding what is right and what is wrong, who is right and who is wrong. And when we go into that space, there's that wrongness is a thing that we feel compelled almost to do something about. We need to right the wrong, right? Like, think about the things that you've heard over the course of your life. We need to right this wrong. Well, do we? Do we actually need to do anything about this? Is it going to be a contribution to our world? And maybe someday, some things absolutely 100%. There are certain things that happen that I'm not sitting down for. I'm not saying be a doormat. Okay. It's about picking and choosing. It's picking your battles and knowing where to put your energy. That's the trick of this thing. So it isn't that they aren't wrong. It's what you're choosing to do with that. It isn't that that person's right. It's what you're choosing to do with that. All right. This is tricky. This can be really tricky. But the thing that really I understood this, I'm going to say probably about 2.5 years ago, I was having a conversation with a really good friend of mine, Danielle. Danielle did not actually come into my life until, like, in any meaningful way, until after the marriage broke down. And I remember going to her and I was so frustrated, so frustrated because this is a thing. When people are making things more difficult than they need to be, when things are happening that it's wrong. Do you see what I'm saying? It's wrong that this thing is happening. Good God, why does it have to be like this? And I remember going and talking to her about that one day. And I've heard this expression before, but when she was talking about it, it really sort of hit home and it became sort of a theme. So when I would get sort of hung up in this place of, oh my God, why can't we just get this done? She would just, you're trying to push water. You are trying to impose your will on something that you have no control over, is basically what that means. Okay. So if you think about this, and we've talked about this on the show before, water is something that you cannot push. It's not solid. It's not solid. Right. So if you try to push, what's going to happen is it's going to flow around your hand and it's going to keep going on its merry little way. And that's what we're talking about. It's a thing that we have no control over as much as we might like to sometimes. And trust me, I have had those moments. I still sometimes have those moments trying to get a little bit better at it, but there are days, my friend, where oh man. So there's nothing that we can do about whatever that circumstances is. So the pushing of the water is it's this thing that's happening, and it doesn't matter what we do. It's going to keep happening until it's done happening, right? So very often these things are in especially when there are other people involved, especially when we're going into the space that I'm talking about being in, where it's like, man, why can't we just get this done? Very often, and this is the really interesting piece to start to understand. Very often, whatever is happening on the other side with whomever that is, and that could be anybody, that like it could be anybody, it could be a teacher, it could be a friend, it could be a spouse, could be a child, could be a parent, whatever. The other person is doing whatever they're doing for whatever reason they're doing it. And it has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. And that's the most interesting part of this, because especially if it's somebody who's been part of our lives, right? We should matter. How we feel should matter to that person. Should matter. All right. So there's that judgment. How I feel should matter to this person. Therefore, if I impose my will by doing this or saying that, this person should hop to and do what I want them to do. Kind of funny. It's kind of funny, right? Because how often does that actually happen? Most of the time when these situations are involving other people, I'm not talking about the things like the car accident no. There's another party on the other side of this that is pushing or pulling or unwilling or whatever it is. It has nothing to do with you. That's an interesting space to go to, because we really are sort of self-centered, and we need to be, because if I'm not conscious of my needs, so if I don't eat, that's not good for me. If I don't sleep, that's not good for me. So our bodily functioning needs need to be met, and that's why we are so self-centered. Children especially are very, very self-centered, right? Because they have to be in order to survive. We have to be in order to survive. So don't beat yourself up about that. But interesting that sometimes it has nothing to do with you. So see if you can sort of find that space of, okay, this isn't about me. This isn't about me. There's nothing I can do about this, and get on with your day. I know. I know some days, oh my God, some days. All right. So when that is happening, when it is another party is resisting or, whatever, causing chaos, whatever, like whatever it is, it's happening. And I mean, it can happen in all areas of our lives. I know sometimes you hear people talking about the people at work that just kind of stir the pot and make things more difficult, or family members, whatever it is. So like figure it out. Whoever it is in your life, just figure it out. And you need to disengage. So if this is a person who should care about you and clearly doesn't, disengage. disengage, allow them to go on their merry little way. Because what will happen sometimes, well, it probably happens most of the time actually, when we're allowing ourselves to remain engaged and like energetically engaged, energetically, um also this piece of like giving it importance, giving them importance, giving them power. Radical personal responsibility is me focusing on what I have control over, right? What can I do? What did I do in this circumstance? How am I influencing thing? What is the contribution I'm making? Is it a positive thing that's going to help this thing move forward and get settled, or am I also part of this problem, even if the only part that I'm playing is that I'm engaging it and allowing it to have power? Do you see what I'm saying? So that's one of the things that we need to get clear on is what am I contributing to this situation that is actually maybe holding it back or causing it to be more difficult for myself or someone else. Radical personal responsibilities plays such a huge part in this allowance thing because it is very clear what I am responsible for and everything that I'm not responsible for. Do you see what I'm saying? It is your power place. It is where your power lives when you be responsible for yourself and let other people worry about their own selves. All right? So, there's this thing that we have, and we're getting back to that subliminal soundtrack. There is this conditioning that I have seen, like there are songs, or so many songs and stories and movies and all of that kind of stuff that love hurts, right? You've heard this. You've probably sang it. I know I have. So if that is one of our conditions, if that is one of the things that we believe to be true, okay, then we will approach love from a place of expecting there to be pain. And we may even go so far as to be the cause of our own pain. That's not a popular place to be, is it? It's not a popular thought. There are things that we contribute to whether we want to accept that or not. So that's the thing. If it hurts you, it's not love. That is the thing that we need to get clear on. And that's not saying that people don't make mistakes. So please don't misunderstand me. It's not that a person doesn't make mistakes or they don't sometimes do something thoughtlessly, like I talked about before. We all do it. Okay. But if somebody intentionally goes out of their way to cause you harm, that is not love. No matter what you want to call it, it is not love. So please look for something where people are more concerned about your happiness, your well-being, you're reaching a place of accomplishment and achievement, and they're your cheerleaders 99% of the time. If they make a mistake sometimes, it happens. But don't look for those people. I think that a lot of people would call it a narcissistic sort of a trait where they purposely go out of their way to cause you harm. That is not love. Okay. All right. So, disappointment and suffering. We were talking about this just a few minutes ago. The suffering part is very often about an unwillingness to allow things to be what they are. So, I am so focused on this being the end result that I'm looking for that if for some reason that end result can't show up or doesn't show up, I'm going to be so disappointed about it. And we can get so focused on that disappointment and that suffering that we miss there could be 50 other opportunities that are showing up for something very much like what you would like to have. But because we're focusing our attention on that disappointment and on that suffering and on that angst, we're not going to see them. So the faster we can get to a place of this situation is what it is. There's not much I can do about it. I'm just going to focus on getting through it and getting on with my life. The faster we get there, the faster we're going to start to see the other doors that are opening, the other people that are showing up, the other opportunities that are coming our way. All right. So that's what we're working toward. We want to get to a space where we can allow things to be what they are and we can move forward with our lives in as much peace as possible. So, next break is coming up right now. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott. When we come back, I'm going to give you some tips. I'm going to give you some steps on how to actually do this thing of getting into a space of allowance, no matter what kind of circumstances you're facing. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and back. Welcome back. I can't talk today, guys. Hello and welcome back to Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I'm your host, Jackie Mott, and today we are talking about being in a space of allowance. So before we get back into the steps that I'm going to give you, I'll just give you a sort of quick update on what's happening in our world. The Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program is still in beta group. We are in the final week. So I am about to get all of that juicy information. I know that people have been having massive breakthroughs as they've been working through this stuff. So the beta group, the purpose of it is for them to give me their thoughts and their feedback on what was good, what can be improved, how did this work for you, and actually maybe even a little bit of a measure of how much did this actually change for you. So that's the purpose of doing a beta group. We're in the last week. My intention is to launch that program after tax season. So I still do income taxes. I still do bookkeeping. I'm a little bit buried this week. But the intention is that the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset will be coming out to the public in the very near future. In the next month or two, there will be a webinar. I will announce it on here. If you do go and download that article, you will get an email with the announcement. You'll also find us on Facebook at Subliminal Mindset Mastery, and you'll see the announcements that come on there. So, yay. I'm so excited about this. I'm telling you, this video, I was thinking the other day I should have done a blooper reel. I should have done a blooper reel. It was ridiculous. Somebody would knock on the door to drop off their taxes. I was right in the middle of recording and it was so good. And then it was funny. So I should have done a blooper reel, but I've deleted all of the videos because they were just irritating me. It's like, I know this stuff. Why can't I get this? Yeah. Why? Right? Anyway. So the subliminalmindsetmastery.com will be launching very, very soon. I heard from my website guy that now it's on me. Now it's my fault because I couldn't get that video right. So it's now done. And hopefully next week, cross your fingers for me, will you? Because this has been it's been a bit of a thing and I really would like it done. So the other program that we are working on launching is the Creating Your Life on Purpose. That one will be launching as soon as I can after the website goes live, because that one has already been Um, it's already being complete, like fully developed. I've run it with several groups. I know exactly what I'm doing with that. We don't really need the feedback portion at this point. So it's ready to go. I'm just waiting for the website to go live. So again, that will be announced on here, and it'll be on Facebook. It'll probably be everywhere that and I'll probably stand up on my roof and holler out loud, "Yay!" I'm so excited. All right. So that's the stuff that I wanted to share with you, the updates that I wanted to share with you today. So here are your steps. You might want to grab yourself a pen and a piece of paper. The first step to reaching a place of allowance with whatever it is that's happening in your life is to identify what's happening. Okay. So is it that there was a car accident and you've lost someone you loved? Is it that a pandemic hit and there's people have lost their jobs and businesses and so on and so forth? Is it that somebody betrayed your trust, a friend, a loved one betrayed your trust and did something? I have a friend, and she had a really, really close friend, and the two of them had put their heads together and come up with this wonderful idea for this thing that they both just wanted so badly to create and put out into the world. And one day, she found out that the friend had taken all of their ideas and done exactly what they'd been talking about doing together without her. And I promise you that one hit her pretty hard. And that's the thing. Okay. These things will hit us in different ways how, depending on the circumstances. So if somebody has intentionally gone out of their way to do something, if they've broken their word, if they betrayed your trust, if someone's died, there are a number of places or a number of ways that this can show up in our lives that are going to cause us some pretty extreme feelings. All right. So we want to identify the source of the chaos and then do our very best to get clear on what is actually happening here. Okay. When I was talking about those people that had been talking to me about being in the space of allowance and how I'd misunderstood them, those people actually taught me so much. There was a thing. So there's a company called Access Consciousness, and the founder is Gary Douglas. And I was learning from some of the people who had learned how to present his information in his courses. And one of the things that I really, it's always stuck with me was this thing called elves and rattlesnakes. Elves and rattlesnake, not elves. Okay. Because it's evil little oh, why not? It's my show. Evil little fucks and rattlesnakes. Okay. So here's the deal. There are some people out there who derive great pleasure from causing other people pain or heartache or difficulty or whatever the case may be. So the idea is that we need to be responsible. So here we are back at the radical personal responsibility. You would not get into a bed with a rattlesnake expecting not to get bitten, right? And those other people, you need to identify who they are. If you've got someone who is always trying to cause you difficulty in your life, they're probably one of these. All right. So identify who they are and identify what they are and call it what they are. Okay. They're not the people that accidentally did something that hurt us. They're not the people that we should be forgiving. They are the people that we should be looking at and going, I see exactly who and what you are. I know exactly what to expect from you, and I'm ready. Okay. So there's another story that actually really helps illustrate this point is the scorpion and the frog. I think I've probably said it before, so I'm going to really quickly go through this. Scorpion is on one side of the river, wants to get to the other side of the river. Frog is also on the same side of the river. Scorpion approaches Frog and says, "Hey, would you help me? I could climb on your back and you can swim across the river and then we can both get there." And the frog says, "Are you kidding me? No. Why would I do that? You're going to sting me and we'll both drown." "Why would I do that?" says the scorpion. "Why would I do that? Right? If I do that, then yes, we're both going to drown. I wouldn't, that would just be stupid. I'm not going to do that." So eventually he talks the frog into allowing him to climb on his back, and the frog starts to swim across the river. Gets about halfway across the river and he feels the sting. So he says to the scorpion, "Well, I thought you said you weren't going to do that." Scorpion says, "It's my instinct. I can't help it. It's what I do." So there are people out there, we need to identify them. We need to get clear on who they are. If you know someone, if someone has shown themselves to be a liar, Know them to be a liar. No matter how you might feel about that, know them to be a liar. Recognize it and understand that that is a piece of information that you need to be aware of. If somebody you know is a cheater, be prepared. If someone you know is a thief, be prepared. Okay. So see people for who they are. This is about removing those rose colored glasses and getting clarity for yourself and then acting appropriately. Okay. Take off the rose colored glasses, see things and people for who and what they are, and allow yourself to move through them. You're not going to change people, right? We aren't going to change people. We might want to, but we're never going to be able to do that. They have to make the choice to change for themselves. You'll never influence that, no matter who you are, no matter how much you might want to influence that. It's on them, it's up to them, and that's their personal responsibility. Okay. So stay in your lane, figure out what you need to do, and let them worry about themselves. So that's the first thing. What is happening and getting the clarity. The second step, ask yourself, can I do anything about this? Is there anything that I can do to influence this situation? In the case of the car accident, there absolutely was nothing that could be done. As much as we might want to, there's no way for us to go back in time and prevent that accident from happening. Do you see what I'm saying? So, is there something that I can do? Is there a way for me to correct something in this situation? Is there a way for me to approach this other person or whatever that might allow this to get going in a better direction, or it may create more ease in the process that we have to go through, or whatever the case may be? Okay, so is there anything that I can do? If yes, do it. If no, focus on you. Step 3 is your self-care. It's very, very, very important when we are working through our trauma, when we are um, working through these painful places, the grief places. It is very important to do what is necessary to take good care of you. So focus on you. What do you need to do in order to get through this? And this is where we would focus on the disengaging from those people that were really influential in our life before and now need to no longer have that space. So this is where we would focus on the disengaging. Step 4 is release the need for control. And I am telling you, if you are any kind of a power tripper, this one is tricky. This one is tricky. It is also, once again, where your power place is. So it's not so easy sometimes, especially when whatever is happening has put us in a place of limbo, or we can't move forward without something happening or without somebody taking action or whatever the case may be. It it is hard to release that control when someone else is in the driver's seat, and we just want to say, would you please do this thing, please do this thing, so that we can get on with our lives. Okay. Step 5, whenever you start to feel that stress come up, remind yourself. So remember, I mentioned my friend Danielle. It wasn't one time that we had that conversation. It was not only one time that I went to her with this like feeling and whatever. It wasn't only one time. It happened several times, because there is a process to there's a process to the entire thing. There's a process to the releasing. There's a process to all of it. So when you find yourself up against this stuff, you need to remind yourself, I have no control over this situation. It doesn't matter how much energy I expend on trying to create a solution or solve the problem or whatever it is that you're dealing with. I have no control in this situation, and it is absolutely not a good use of my time, my energy, my emotion to continue to roll around in this. Okay? Every time it comes up, remind yourself of this. Remind yourself, I will get through this. You have gotten through every single thing that has ever come up in your life. Every single thing you have managed to find your way through and get on with whatever it is that you need to get on with. You will do that again. And remind yourself, this one's tough. I forgive myself. I forgive myself for whatever part I had to play in whatever the situation is, even if the only piece of it was that I allowed it to happen, even if that is my only piece. I forgive myself for my part in this situation. All right. So those are your 5 steps. Those are your 5 steps. If for some reason you didn't catch them, you can always go back and watch the show again, and they will be posted or on, well, actually, Kim has been keeping track of them on the chat room here, and you can go back and listen to them and write them down if that's helpful to you. So we are now going to our last break. When we come back, we are going to wrap up our conversation about being in a space of allowance with your circumstances, regardless of what they are. You are with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Stick with me for just a few more minutes. We'll wrap this up. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? This question came to Jackie Mott when she was trying to find peace and purpose in the wake of tragedy. She began to understand that a lot of her pain and choices had been the result of how she perceived herself and her place in the world. And she set about creating a new subliminal soundtrack that would support her in creating a life of abundance, joy, and fulfillment. To learn more about how she did that and how you can do the same, join Jackie on her radio show, Time to Rise and Thrive, every Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com.
What do you tell yourself when you're not listening? Our subliminal soundtrack plays in the back of our minds 24/7. It's filled with everything we've ever learned about money, relationships, body, and sexuality, about every single aspect of our lives. If you don't have what you desire, the Subliminal Soundtrack Reset program may be the very key to changing it all. In this 8-week program, designed by Jackie Mott, you'll learn to replace messages that stop your desires with new ones that not only support you in creating what you truly desire, but expand your life to higher levels of joy and pleasure. Go to phoenixcoach.ca today to sign up and begin creating your life on purpose.
This is the Time to Rise and Thrive show with mindset coach and facilitator of change, Jackie Mott. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. For more information, visit phoenixcoach.ca, where you can follow Phoenix Coaching online. Now, back to the program.
Hello and welcome back to our last segment of Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. I am Jackie Mott, your host, and I am telling you, I am just completely discombobulated today. This is so much fun. It's so much fun. It's a good thing I'm cute, because sometimes, holy cow. Anyway, so today we are talking about this idea of achieving a more peaceful state, being in a state of allowance with our circumstances, no matter what they are. And I know this is tough, man. I know this is tough because I've had to do it. I've had to do it over and over and over again. And for some reason, this one, this one doesn't seem to get all that much easier, um, in my experience. So it's a thing. And I'm just going to ask you to recognize that it is a process. It is a process, and things will pass. They always do. They always do. The process that you need to go through is whatever it is for you, and it is okay. So if you need to rage, if you need to cry, if you need to go and work out at the gym, or go for a long long walk to work off that physical energy of whatever the feelings are that you're having, do it. I've talked many times about how I used to scream sing my songs in the car when I was doing my own sort of healing process, and it helped, man. Whatever it is that you need to do, write it down, speak it out, find your people, find your tribe, find the place where you will have the support. Like my friend Danielle. Jackie, you're trying to push water again. Do you see what I'm saying? Those people are instrumental in helping us to get to this space of allowance where we can understand that what is happening is really out of our control, probably has nothing to do with us anyway, in all honesty. and we can waste a whole bunch of time, energy, and emotion on it, or we can get on with what we have control over. And that is really that moving forward into the world and the life that you want to create for yourself. That's the thing that we need to focus on. If you get into the space of allowance with it, it sort of goes over there. Like, it's not gone. It's not gone away, so we're never going to think about it again. It's sort of over there, and it doesn't occupy the space that it once did. That's a real thing. It doesn't occupy the space. It doesn't take up the energy or the emotion that we once gave it, because we are choosing with our radical personal responsibility. We are choosing what we are going to do. All right. So when we focus on other things, we can engage and enjoy our life in a different way, even in the midst of complete chaos. We see these movies and read stories and so on and so forth about people who are living in war zones that are still celebrating and having parties and enjoying despite and maybe in spite of. Like, to hell with this, we're going to have a birthday party. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's a choice that we are making to live our lives rather than to lie down and be at the mercy of the circumstances that we find ourselves in. It's a choice. So it's not that we choose to allow the feelings, it's that we do allow the feelings. Okay. So we don't focus there, though. We don't unpack and live there. We allow the feelings, we allow ourselves to do what we need to process and break through them and get on with our lives and create that thing. So this is actually a power position, because we're not allowing the feelings or the other party to have control over ourselves. I know that sounds kind of cockeyed. When you get there, you'll understand exactly what I'm talking about. You can only control yourself and how you react to certain circumstances. Everything and everybody outside of that is beyond your control. It's a sad truth. So we are coming right down to the wire here, and Kim, my lovely producer, is just about to kick me off the air. So we'll just start wrapping things up. I wrote this quote for you this morning. Coming to a place of allowance with the circumstances we can't control isn't about being a victim or letting someone do something to you. It's exactly the opposite. It is about understanding that going into judgment actually disempowers you, and mindfully deciding where you will put your energy and your emotion. That's the thing. So, my friends, that is what I have for you today. Thank you so much for being with me on Time to Rise and Thrive on Inspired Choices Network. Please keep track of the Facebook page, Subliminal Mindset Mastery. You can like the page, follow the page, all that sort of stuff, and you'll get all kinds of updates. Download that free article, and you'll get added to the mailing list, and you'll get a message when all this stuff starts to roll out. It's an exciting time, and it's spring. Isn't it wonderful? You know, I love this time of year because everything is starting to just come back to life. There's that like birth feeling in the world right now. Everything is coming back to life after the long winter. So wherever you are, I hope you are safe and I hope you are well. I hope you are getting some of this beautiful sunshine that I'm enjoying today. So don't forget to go and download that free article. Next week's show, we're going to be back at 1 p.m. next Friday. Noon, what is it? Noon Central. Mountain time is 11 and 10 Pacific, I think is how it works. I don't know. I'm so discombobulated today. It's funny. Next week's show is called Trauma and Drama. And we are going to be talking about learning to refuse to engage in that trauma and drama to create, again, more peace for ourselves, no matter what is happening around us. So thank you again so very much for being with us today. Come back and join us next week. It's so much fun. I'm so grateful that you joined me for this stuff. I have so much fun, and play with my producers, play with the audience. Thank you so much for giving me that. Yes. So I am your host, Jackie Mott of Subliminal Mindset in London, Ontario. Until next week, remember, it's your time to rise and thrive.
Thank you for joining us for Time to Rise and Thrive radio show. Jackie Mott will return next Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 12 noon Central, 11 a.m. Mountain, and 10 a.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Have a fantastic week, and remember, It's your time to rise and thrive.